South of the Medicine Line, Vice President Kamala Harris has recently chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. According to some reports, Harris has now taken a 5-point lead in a new poll against Donald Trump in the presidential campaign. Reporter and host with Indian Country Today, Aliyah Chavez, joins us now from Phoenix, Arizona, to talk more about the significance of this all, including what it could mean for Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, who is Anishinaabe. Aliyah, always great to have you with us. First off, I guess, can you talk about the significance of Kamala Harris choosing Tim Walz to run alongside her?
Of course, it's wonderful to be back. I can't understate the significance of Vice President Kamala Harris choosing Tim Walz as her running mate. It was, as a lot of people know, a huge question as to who she would pick. I mean, the vice president is literally the second in command. It's who the president trusts the most to make some really big decisions. And so when Tim Walz's name was put into the hat as to who she could choose, a lot of us thought, is it going to happen? Would it happen? And it did. Tim Walz, of course, is the governor of Minnesota. He was the first governor in Minnesota to, choose a lieutenant governor who is Anishinaabe, which of course is Peggy Flanagan from the White Earth Nation. And in addition to that, he was also the first governor in Minnesota to visit all 11 tribal nations in the state. And that is really significant. Nobody had ever done that before, but also under the Walz and Flanagan administration, there have been really big strides for Native American people, namely things like missing and murdered Indigenous women initiatives, as well as initiatives to teach the true history of Native Americans in public schools across the state.
Well, you're going to be covering a rally there later today, but what has been the reaction so far for Tim Walz?
I think it's largely been very good for the Harris-Walz campaign. People seem to be really excited about him, particularly Indigenous people. I have seen a few, tidbits that have been a little bit critical of Walz's record on a few pipelines in Minnesota. But for the most part, I've seen nothing but overwhelming support. People seem to be really, really happy about a Tim Walz pick, specifically, as I mentioned, because of his knowledge about Indian country and knowing that, with the Vice President, Tim Walz, we wouldn't have to sort of get him up to speed on Indian country issues. It seems like he already knows kind of what he's doing in that area.
Well, as you touched on it, with Walz potentially taking on a new role here, there may be an opportunity for Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we would have the first Native American woman to be the governor of any state if Peggy Flanagan becomes the governor of Minnesota. That could happen in one of two ways. One, if Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz win the presidential election in November, or two, if Governor Walz were to resign as governor in order to focus on campaigning or getting elected. That seems to be a little bit more of a rare circumstance. As we know, on the Republican ticket, former President Donald Trump has chosen a U.S. Senator J.D. Vance to be his running mate, and there has been almost no conversation about J.D. Vance resigning from his post. So that seems to be a little bit more of a rare, but would be historical chance if that did happen.
Yeah, just quickly here, Aliyah, if that were to happen, an Anishinaabe woman as governor, what do you think that would mean for Indigenous peoples in the United States?
I think it would be a big step forward. One, for having Indian country issues at the table. I mean, if you look at Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan's record so far, she is very liked by a lot of Native American people. I was actually just at an event in Arizona 2 weeks ago where Peggy Flanagan was the keynote speaker, and I was watching as she was giving her speech, and people in the audience literally had tears in their eyes while she was speaking. They gave her a standing ovation. She's one of the most well-liked Native American politicians in the United States. So I think people would be really excited about that possibility. And, we'll just wait to see what the outcome of this election is.
Aliyah, we'll leave it there. We'll be following along with your tweets from the rally today. Always great to have you join us.
Thank you so much.